Market is the oil and gas industry, and you can see the big middle tanks there, the welded tanks with the large geodesic dome. That is their primary market. Bolted tanks got started clear back in the early 1900s, actually in Kansas, and manufacturing mud tanks for the oil and gas industry. The applications, lots of applications for our bolted tanks. The water industry, the dry bulk industry, wastewater, power generation, and of course oil and gas. Lots of markets. In terms of our focus today in oil and gas, we are the leaders in the industry, and we came up with the API 12B. Now API, of course, is the American Petroleum Institute. There are two standards. One is the 650, which is the welded, and then the second one is the 12B, which is for bolted. The 12B range goes up to 10,000 barrels, but then we also have the principal tanks that are not certified API 12B, but using the same principles, because API has certified us up to 10,000 barrels. But we also manufacture a range of tanks that go all the way up to 60,000 barrels using the same concepts for all of those applications. We were the first company who has an API certification. Every 3 years, API actually comes to our factory. Every 3 years, they provide a certification. They review your design processes, your shop drawing processes, and your manufacturing processes, and renew the certification. It's not like you pass and then you forever have it. You have to renew consistently. This is what we mean by API principal tank. The lower left corner is an API certified tank, whereas the upper right corner is principal tank, meaning using the same design concepts, but it's not an API certified tank, if you will. We follow various standards, whether it be American Wastewater, International Building Code, the American Institute of Steel Construction, the insurance guys, Factor Mutual, UL, whatever design, international design standards, we can meet them all, but of course API has very specific requirements for oil, and then we overlay the requirements, for example, for Indonesia, which has very specific wind and seismic requirements that we incorporate into the design. Okay, so that's the design piece, which is very important, but one of the real keys of the factory bolted tank is the coating. That's what really sets us apart, okay? Because all of these activities are done in a factory. The steel is cut and punched and cleaned and coated and then run through an oven so that the coating thermally sets to the steel, creating a very, very good coating. I mean, let's face it, a factory coating versus a field applied coating, when you're out in the sun, the wind, the rain, you just get a better quality product when you do it in the factory, bring it to a construction site, and bolt it together. You can see there we start on the lower left where we clean and then bring through shot blasting. Shot blasting is to the international clean standard at SA 2.5, which is white blasting. And then we put a coating on it. It's thermally set, or it is using the electrostatic process, meaning it's not a paint. You put a negative charge on the panel, a positive charge on the paint, and that way all of the powder sticks to the steel, and then you run it through an oven where it melts and thermally sets to the steel. Then we run it through a quality check for a 100% holiday test. And then we say up in the upper right there, that is stacked for shipment. It's not panel to panel. It's actually put in a rack where it's then put in a container and shipped to a construction site. The middle column is factory bolted tanks. The right column is field painted or steel tanks. the coating coverage, surface preparation, environmentally supportive, coating life. Overall, a factory bolted tank with coating integrity, we can get holes cut and punched. They're all laser and CNC cut in a factory, so it's a precise hole and precise location for nozzles, bolted to bolted connections, versus in a field application, you're welding and grinding and cutting and things like that, trying to get things in the right place. Coating coverage, when we are sandblasting in the field and then putting on a coating, you can't get as good a coverage as where you are doing that in a controlled environment in a factory. This is true on surface preparation. It's environmentally cleaner because you're doing it in a factory in a controlled environment versus out in the field where you've got lots happening there that you want to try to control, but it's quite difficult to do so. And then as a result, the coating life of our tanks are longer than a welded application. They go up faster. A bolted tank goes up much faster. So for you, what we find, the decisions that need to be made up front on where you want nozzles, liquid level indicators, inlet, outlet, you make those decisions up front, then we quickly get that done in the factory. And versus the welded application, it just takes longer to place all of those things in the field versus when we do that in a factory. And then the tanks just go up much, much faster. We're talking a couple of weeks versus months for a welded. So overall, it's safer for the environment, it takes less time, it's less footprint because the staging area is smaller, and it takes less equipment over the long haul to service and maintain a bolted tank versus a welded tank. Some project highlights. We just happen to have a couple of your projects.
Lirik. 2000.
All of the spiral staircases, the nozzles, the perimeter walkways, all of that is done in the factory. We probably would be using scaffolding in Indonesia and not a man lift. You can see the bolted floor. This is here gold in Papua New Guinea. This is a 20,000 cubic meter fuel tank using the same API 12B principles that we're talking about, but it's not API 12B certified. This uses our scaffolding arm, where you don't have to build a big piece of scaffolding all the way around the tank, but actually an arm. You can see that you put a board on, and the upper right-hand corner shows the boards where you can attach a panel to panel and hoist it up that way. This is a dome, closing out a dome application, put on a welded tank. This is a large API 12 tank that is not certified. The API 12B goes up to 10,000 barrels as certified, technically as certified. So that's the highlights. Okay. Questions? All of the design assumptions for the geometry of the tank, what we're storing, the specific gravity, and the design standards, of course, the wind and exposure and importance factor that goes with that. And then through each page, we go through the design calculations showing, for example, in this case, the wind load, the input data, the calculations, the formula that goes with that, and the output data of the actual result. And then an analysis of hoop load stress for each ring. We look at bolts and bolt stress and the tear out associated with that and shear and what's allowable. It therefore shows us the row of how many bolts, 1 row, 2 row, or 3 bolts for each thickness that is involved. This gets us into the allowable shell. So for each thickness, this gives us the allowable loads associated with the diameter of this tank. Shows the formula here.
Coba contohnya lah. Ya, tuh, jadi kan dari hitungan itu aktual board loadnya itu 3.587 kan. Allowable-nya 4.300. Itu yang nanti untuk win load apa semua kan yang kita minta resumenya. Itu dari baut yang ring ratu 10 GA sudah masuk tuh Pak ya.
Oke, berarti dia di bawahnya load
Ya.
ya.
Ini yang 12 GA ring 2 sudah masuk juga tuh. Aktual bolt loadnya 2.300, ini 3.400. Ring 3 sudah masuk juga Pak.
And then following the tension loads on the chimes, following the AWWA standard, B10397. Looking at overturning of the whole tank, turned over, looking at that analysis. Very exciting for someone in this room to study, I'm sure. But not me. Molten deck design. So we have this analysis for every tank, and we've already provided it.
Actual reflection 0,42, allowable-nya 1,34. Oke. Nah, yang maksudnya ada semua yang ini yang belum dikasih kan. Jadi ada semua di sini sebenarnya aktualnya berapa, allowable-nya berapa, itu semua harus masuk kan. Iya. Udah masuk. Udah yang di atasnya ketentuannya gimana? Ketentuannya kan